Thank you very much, QuickShot. First of all, Memento, congratulations. Thank you for joining me. I know it's still a tough time because you have a series coming up tomorrow. We just wanted to get a couple of words about this series and how the week has been. So as we said, first of all, congratulations, but we want to know, how has the mood in the team been since last week? Obviously, the loss of Fnatic Academy in preparation for this series.
I mean, last week we had a really bad... It was like one of our worst week we've ever had. We kept like losing every scrim, and we didn't like find a reason why we kept losing, and we just played overall like really bad. And then after like we kept losing, everyone just lashed out and like started flaming each other. I mean, not flaming each other, but like we just, because we were tired of the shit. So we just like started flaming each other, and we talked about like why are we playing so bad and what's the reason. And we realized like one of our biggest reasons was like that we didn't get any vision, and that we like didn't respect our enemy, or like I don't want to go into details, but so like this week we just practiced really hard in scrims, and everyone was try-harding for their lives, and we just showed up on stage today.
We really appreciate you being so candid about how the team communicates. Is that something you feel like Giants as a team are mostly past now coming into this series with this week's practice?
Yeah, I think so. I think only now from forward going on, we're just going to play a lot better. I think this last week was really bad because everyone was tilted, and we just didn't know why we were playing so bad, and everyone was really frustrated. And we've been here for 3 months, and it really takes a lot of how can you say it? It's like it's really hard to be here for 3 months and actually like still keep staying motivated and being focused when you're relegations. But now it's only 2 days left almost, so we're just gonna like try hard these last days and just focus on tomorrow's games.
Well, speaking of tomorrow, you go up against Fnatic Academy, the opponents you chose in the first round. Without wanting to go too far into detail, you talk a little bit about vision. Is there anything you feel like you're more prepared about this week going up against Fnatic, now seeing them obviously last week and today play against Misfits?
Yeah, I think we'll take the series. Like last week when we played against them, that was not Giants. That was like some, I don't know, that was the sub team for us. Like they were playing for us. That's basically what happened. Like we're gonna actually, I think we're gonna win tomorrow.
Okay, I'm glad to hear the confidence out of you, Memento. I think it's you know, a rejuvenated Giants as we saw on stage today. I have one last question that's a little bit more of a somber note. As you sat down, you said you can't imagine what it feels like to lose an LCS spot in regards to Origen. Did that weigh at all on your mind in today's series, knowing that a bit of a legacy comes to an end, obviously with a win that you so desperately wanted?
I mean, I'm the kind of player who's like, the higher the stakes are, the more excited I get. So I didn't feel any pressure at all. I was like just super excited to play good, and I just wanted to try hard for my life. I just love the pressure, like, because we can't play playoffs. So this is kind of like playoffs. So I'm just loving the pressure. Like that's how I like it. I don't necessarily feel pressured that we're gonna lose the LCS, but like when I'm in the game, I'm just in the game. I just focus on what's in front of me, and that's all that matters. And I'm not gonna be like, what happens if we lose? What happens if it is? Like, there's no time for that. And for me, I don't feel much pressure, but maybe the other players do. Like, it's normal, but I just goddamn love that pressure.
Well, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow going up against Fnatic Academy. The pressure, as you said, is on for tomorrow. But for now, we're going to head over to the post-game lobby.
Thank you, Stress, and welcome to the post-game lobby, where I'm joined by Martin Fischer-Lunga and Mitch Kripple-Vorspool. Surprise, they're still here, and I gotta say, I like that interview coming in from Memento. Can't make playoffs, promotion tournament. It's like mini playoffs. That's some positivity right there. I like it.
That's the perspective where I've won a lot of playoffs in my career.
There you go. How about you, Martin? A lot of playoffs experience?
Yeah, really good at qualifying for the playoffs. The wrong playoffs, but still a playoff according to Memento.
Second playoffs, all right.
Second playoffs.
We've had first playoffs. How about second
I actually
playoffs?
never missed either of the playoffs, so that was pretty impressive.
Because back in the time when you could lose playoffs and still get relegated.
Then you get relegated after. It's rough times, rough times.
All right, we'll look back on the LCS at some point in the future, but for now, let's look back on that series that we just saw. Giants' dominant performance coming out with a 3-0 over OG, and it feels like pretty Giants favored for the most part.
I mean, yeah, all the predictions were in Giants' favor. It felt like it was hard to kind of find a reason or a way Origen would kind of dominate this series, and I think Giants, as Memento said, you know, they they tried hard, they showed up, and they got the job done.
Definitely got the job done. A lot of just decisive engages, even at the end. Even if they were bad engages, they would still went for it. Because if you go back to like the way the third game ended, there were some fights where Flaxish was tanking for well over 6 seconds before any return fire came out from Giants. But because they were just so willing to force the fight, it kind of still worked out. Like, Giants were always the ones pulling the trigger. I feel like Origen was always reacting to whatever was going on, a little bit slower, so that when they do inevitably win some of these fights, they couldn't capitalize as much.
Seeing a lot of Origen kills, obviously in the replays here, which did, highlight a bit of Game 3. I think looking at Giants and then Memento talking about how this week is much better compared to last week, it was the sub team who played against Fnatic Academy. Despite them getting a 3-0, they weren't like that much better.
But what does he have to say? Like, oh, we
that's fair. I'm just saying, like, I'm still very concerned for Giants going into the Fnatic Academy series because I don't think they dominated Origen as much as Misfits Academy did.
And Fnatic Academy as well, they have a team with some veterans that can take a loss and recharge in a day, I think. Like, these guys, having the bigger picture in mind and knowing that it was still a series where Misfits Academy was favored, but not overly so, and they have the track record of already beating this team once. Like,
exactly.
I think they could come in very confident. They also showed a lot of weaknesses here in Giants, again, in their setup and like their vision, so it should be easily challengeable. And these guys came off a tilter. Just hearing that interview should actually be a motivation boost for Fnatic Academy. They know these guys were tilting last week. You are their kryptonite. You beat them once, take game 1, and the series should be yours.
Well, it's good that you bring up Fnatic Academy. Of course, they did just go down to Misfits earlier in the day, qualifying Misfits Academy for the LCS, and of course, setting up that matchup for tomorrow. This matchup, or this series, much, much closer overall, but as you mentioned, Mitch, already, it's one where they can recover mentally, at least. We would assume so.
Don't ever tell the camera one more game, because it got jinxed again.
Yeah, not only did he do it wrong, he also managed to do it 3 times.
Yeah, now we're talking about their coach, obviously, but overall still Fnatic Academy pick and ban was solid, I feel. There was never really a pick ban that was lost entirely, so it was mostly on the play. They had decent priority on like the strong mages in the mid lane with the Syndra and the LeBlanc.
These 2 teams were the 2 strongest teams coming into the promo tournament, and I think the series showed that both teams are equally strong. Like, I think Misfits Academy winning in the end is great. And they obviously deserve it, like really good last engage from Jisoo as well. But Fnatic Academy, they were so even for the full BO5. So it sucks not being qualified already. But as you said here, nothing should make Fnatic Academy feel less confident going into tomorrow's series. It wasn't like they got completely destroyed by Misfits.
Yeah, especially if you look the way they won in the first time. Like, you can talk about things like vision and teamwork going poorly, but Kikis ran a train in the top lane. Like, Flaxish, the way he was now slightly better than Satorius, there was a much bigger difference between Kikis and Flaxish, and all these individual lanes should be outperforming the hell out of the Giants lineup to the point where it doesn't even matter if you have good vision or macro, you should just be behind.
All right, so we're saying still very heavily in favor of Fnatic Academy. I want to pretend for a moment that both these teams are even, whatever, in mechanical skill, that we're not going to see massive advantages generated through just individual outplays in lanes. Will we see the same priority on mid lane in that Giants versus Fnatic Academy series that we saw in Fnatic Academy versus Misfits? Will Syndra still kind of be the end-all, be-all for teams when LeBlanc is not on the table?
If LeBlanc is not on the table, yes. I think this mid lane priority is important for a lot of teams in the world, but especially for teams who, like, again, don't have like perfect macro, because the mid lane pressure just allows you so many things in the early game. Like, you can use that mid lane and pair them up with a jungler. You can invade junglers. You can go to top side. You can go to bot side. It's so much easier to play if you have a winning mid laner. And I mean, we're gonna see that tomorrow as well. If Knight loses mid lane, well, then suddenly Giants will be behind in the early game, and the other way around, of course.
All right, well, we've already kind of talked about that series. Let's take a chance to look at the way the bracket has unfolded throughout the entirety of this tournament. You can see strong starts from Fnatic just dropping Misfits today. Other series, Giants 3-0, as we already talked about. One final series remaining. Of course, one team to be knocked out and one team to go to the LCS.
Yeah, and it's something I write on my notes very often. It doesn't matter how you get back into the LCS. It only matters that you do get back into the LCS.
It's true. It's true. It's a great thing to highlight. Origen obviously out of the LCS now. Not too surprising in the end. Didn't win a game in the promo tournament. I just hope that people won't flame the players. Like, a lot of these players signed up for an almost impossible project where it was last minute. A lot of guys who weren't even qualified to the LCS,
Yeah.
they were just picked from middle of the Challenger series, like a Sartorius, then plugged in on this team. Like, no help, nothing, impossible situation. So I think people shouldn't be too hard on the players, but more directed at the organization.
Because if you are a player that has a lot of market value, you're likely not going to join Origen in the state that it was in. We know from numerous free agents that would have been upgraded over the current rosters that they said, you know what, we didn't want to join there. So that means the goal for Origen as an organization should be we need to nurture existing lower level talent and help that improve. Instead, these guys were thrown in an already sinking ship and they now find themselves on the bottom of the ocean.
We have 10 players, 5 on Fnatic Academy and 5 on Misfits Academy, who have shown this tournament they're actually better than the LCS guys they're playing against. And these were guys who said, you know what, instead of joining what is most likely a bottom LCS team, we will join a Challenger team, take it a bit slower, play our way, you know, through the Challenger series, get synergy that way, and then see if we can peak around playoffs. PSG tried to do the same.
And we're looking at Schalke and PSG, who also had a wealth of players who could technically replace a few of these members on Origen, on Giants even technically.
So we're seeing that as a very viable path to take. It's not about just taking whatever LCS offer you can get.
Yeah, but is that a risk that's always worth it? Because in the case of Schalke and PSG, we saw a lot of players, bigger names, kind of lose their opportunity at the LCS, whereas the Origen players did get their chance to show up.
Some of those players might have lost the opportunity to qualify for the LCS right now. But if you're playing on a team that functions better than a bottom LCS team where you lose every week in the LCS, then it's actually easier in Challenger to show if you are a good player or not. Like, it is really difficult to go in on a team who went now 2-31 through this spring split and show that you are individually a good player.
If you are a super solid mid-game player and you play versus G2 as Origen and with the rest of the lineup, you're not going to shine. It's impossible because in the current iteration of League of Legends, you need teamwork to succeed. Yes, you can make the small difference. You can push the needle, but it has to be there in the first place.
Yep, definitely something to consider. Now, I'm not going to get to see you guys tomorrow, of course. You guys will have the day off, so I want your opinions. Fnatic versus Giants, our final series in the promotion tournament. Who is going to get that last LCS spot, and who is going to be knocked back down or down for the first time to Challenger?
I think we get 2 new LCS teams. I think Fnatic Academy will win 3-1, and I think there will be pretty heavy favorites, in my opinion, judging from what we've seen so far in this tournament.
As always, I will just blindly copy whatever Deficio says.
It's perfect. That's all I needed to hear. Doesn't matter how they do it as long as they win. I think has been the lesson for the day. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Our broadcast of the final matchup begins at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time, so do not be late. And after a long day, it is time for us to call it a night. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back with more action tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.